The Strange Passenger. Listen and learn English. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Listen and Learn English. Tonight's story is about a taxi driver and a very strange passenger. Listen carefully. Carlos worked as a taxi driver in the city. He usually worked at night because the roads were less crowded and the air was cooler. One rainy evening, Carlos was waiting outside a small convenience store. Business was slow, and he was feeling sleepy. Then suddenly, an old man wearing a long gray coat opened the taxi door and sat in the back seat. "Good evening," Carlos said politely. The old man did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked out the window and quietly said, "Please drive to Hill Road." Carlos felt slightly uncomfortable because Hill Road was far from the city. Very few people went there at night. Still, he started driving. The rain became heavier, and thunder shook the sky. The streets were almost empty. After several minutes, Carlos tried to make conversation. "Bad weather tonight," he said. "Yes," the old man replied softly. "It reminds me of the past." Carlos looked at him through the mirror. The man's face looked pale and tired. A few moments later, the old man suddenly asked, "Do you believe people can change their destiny?" Carlos thought for a second before answering. "I think people can improve their future if they work hard," he replied. The old man smiled slightly. "Interesting answer," he said. When they finally arrived at Hill Road, Carlos noticed something strange. The area was completely dark. There were no houses nearby. Only an old cemetery stood beside the road. Carlos felt cold suddenly. "We're here," he said nervously, but when he turned around, the back seat was empty. The old man had disappeared. Carlos froze in shock. Then he noticed something else. On the seat, there was an old photograph. It showed a younger version of the same man standing beside a taxi. At the bottom of the photo were the words, 1948. Carlos quickly stepped out of the taxi and looked around, but nobody was there. The rain stopped. The road became silent. Feeling frightened, Carlos drove away as fast as possible. The next morning, he told his friend about the strange passenger. His friend laughed at first, but when Carlos showed him the photograph, his friend's face suddenly became serious. "That man," his friend whispered. "My grandfather told me a story about him." Carlos stared silently. "They say he was a taxi driver many years ago," his friend continued. "He died during a storm on Hill Road." Carlos felt chills run down his arms. That night, he could not sleep well. Even today, whenever it rains heavily, Carlos remembers the mysterious old passenger and wonders, who did he really meet that night? Thank you for listening and learning English with us. Remember, the more English you listen to, the more natural it becomes.